My name is Steinmarc, here to hopefully help you find some good places to find some support emotionally, psychologically, mentorship, and whatever you might be able to find. We're here to find the right support system. The session title that I put, Your Family Will Destroy You, I do believe that to some extent, though I'm hoping nobody in my family is going to Google my session to find out about that. We're all entrepreneurs here. I'm sure you're all familiar with the emotional roller coaster of entrepreneurship. There are some incredible highs. You close a good client. You really figure out a problem that's been bugging you for a week. There's a lot of really strong highs in our sector. There's also some really bad lows. Maybe you lost a client. Maybe something's been bothering you work-wise for a while. Maybe you had a problem with an associate. The highs and lows are super extreme. A lot of other day-to-day jobs, 9-to-5 jobs, people go to their job, they do their job, they come home. They don't really feel those highs and lows that we all do in our world. How many people here are currently riding at the top of the roller coaster? Anybody here riding at the bottom of the roller coaster? Anybody right in the middle? Okay. I appreciate the honesty from the top and the bottom. Now, we all have this stress monster that chases us around. It might be just the day-to-day rigmarole of work. The question is, how do you really deal with that? Where do you go? How do you find the support to push off that monster? Now, I know not everybody here is on an extreme low, and even those that are on the low might not be too extreme. This session is not going to deal with people who, if you have really serious issues that you need to talk to somebody professionally, we're not going to talk about that. What I would like is for every single person in this room to write down at least one piece of information here. Even if you don't need it, the person next to you might need it, and they might be embarrassed to write it down themselves. So if everybody here can either jot one piece of information here on your phone or write it down on a piece of paper, take a picture of it, just so everyone has the information, and if anybody truly needs it, they have it accessible. And you never know, our lives might be fine, but some point in the future, things might happen. You might be happy you can refer back to this. And you don't even have to talk to people on the phone, online chat, texts. It's very personal and impersonal and anonymous. Okay, give another second for the information. All right. Now, how many of us have sometimes felt like putting our heads down on the desk and giving up out of frustration? It becomes really, really difficult. Now, the problem is you feel like this, you feel this frustration, and who do you talk to? You go to your friends who look like they're interested, but they really don't know what you're talking about because they know nothing about our industry. Or they don't even bother to pretend like they know what you're talking about. They just stare at you with wide eyes like, I don't know what to say. I have no idea. You might go to your family. You might talk to your mom about it. But really, parents just don't understand. They don't get what we're doing. I was running my own personal experience with this. I went from the corporate world, which was normal every day. It was stressful, but I had plenty of people in the corporation to talk to if I had an issue. My friends understood it because I was working at Citigroup, and people know what Citigroup does. And they didn't necessarily understand my job, but they understood the corporate world. Then I went and worked on a startup, launched a company. The startup depression is it's a pretty fascinating phenomenon because people feel this need in the startup world and us here in the entrepreneurship world and the marketing world. You feel this need to put an outward sense of everything is going awesome. Because if anything is not going awesome, then all of a sudden you're not successful in other people's eyes and you worry that you're not going to get as much business. The startup world, that gets, it's 100 times that, because if you're not doing awesome, then you're not getting funding. And people, if they see any sense that you're not doing well, even if it's just a normal ups and downs, then you're screwed. Now, going to family, nobody in my family understands the startup world. Nobody in my family understands marketing world. Nobody in my family understands anything about really entrepreneurship. My friends, I had a few friends in the startup communities, but they didn't necessarily understand what I was going through, and I didn't necessarily have the tight bonds with them. Now, you could go to group sessions. There's always group therapy. But even though they're there for emotional support and people that understand how to give emotional feedback, they won't necessarily be able to give you feedback to your specific case. And they don't understand. Again, they don't understand our industry. The feedback and interaction you get, you'll be less inclined to tell them truly what's going on. So a big thing to do first, recognize the different types of support needs you might have. There's emotional support that you might need. Now, emotional support will be, if you're just feeling depressed or lonely because nobody really understands what you're doing. Technical support, way different than emotional support. Maybe you're just having an issue with some piece of technology, or you're trying to post ads on Facebook and it's not working. Mentorship is sort of those two combined. You're looking for somebody who has a lot more experience than you, or even a little more experience than you, that can give you some solid feedback, tell you if you're going down the right path, give you feedback on whether or not you're doing the right things. And then the physical and mental health support. It's overwhelmingly important for us to keep active. Your physical and mental health is super important, and going to the gym is important. How do you get the support you need to get there, to keep yourself active? So for emotional support, you can get an emotional support animal. You can get a cute little puppy dog, maybe a little cat. They'll be great for helping you feel wonderful. They're adorable. They'll get you all warm and fuzzy inside, but they're not going to understand what you're going through. You can turn to alcohol. Again, it'll keep you warm and fuzzy inside, but it won't really understand what you're going through either. So what you really need to do is find individual support groups. I reached out to the Affiliate Summit Speaker Group and asked for some feedback of what people do to get their support. Eric Nagel, a wonderful guy in the audience today, his response was he goes to Trisha Meyer, another friend in the sector. Trisha's response was that they put together this mastermind group after meeting at Affiliate Summit, and it has been phenomenally helpful for them because, as Eric pointed out in that group, you can talk with somebody and give them, if you trust them and they understand the sector and they understand what you're going through, they don't even have to give you an answer. It's just somebody that really truly understands what you're going through. They can commiserate. If they have feedback, great, but at least it's somebody that understands what you're talking about. Now, how do you find these people? How do you find somebody to trust enough? How do you find a mastermind group? Well, you need to look at different options to find groups of people that are in a similar sector. So here at Affiliate Summit, this is obviously, we're all doing the same thing or similar things. There's a ton of networking opportunities here at Summit. Talk with people who you feel comfortable with. It's not going to be immediate. You're not going to meet somebody tomorrow. You're not going to meet somebody in this room that you're all of a sudden going to trust 100%. But build that relationship. You find somebody you think you connect with, stay in touch with them over time, build the relationship, and you'll be able to really get that feedback that you need. There are different Slack teams and Slack channels that you can join that are for entrepreneurs, for people in the online marketing world, for people in digital marketing, for startups, all of that. Find those channels, and now you're having a more public conversation, but you're doing it with people that understand you. Facebook groups, phenomenal. There are a ton of Facebook groups out there, both public and private, that you can find people that understand you and are doing similar things to you, and that usually the groups that I'm a part of, and I wanted to have a list of them, but most of them that are effective are private groups, so I didn't really feel comfortable telling you all publicly and on the video about it. But what I would say is maybe come up to me afterwards, ask me, or if you want to email me some information about what you do, what you're looking for from a support perspective, I might be able to give some suggestions. Meetup groups, another great place to find people that are doing similar things in your city, locally, in person. The Slack channels and Facebook groups and Reddit are all online. If you want somebody in person, face-to-face, Meetup is a great place to do that. And then Reddit, if you're not familiar, Reddit is a phenomenal community. It's also a terrible community, depending on where you go. There are subreddits. So Reddit is basically a website that's made up of individual subgroups, subreddits. There are subreddits for everything you can possibly imagine. There's a subreddit for entrepreneurs, there's a subreddit for startups, there's a subreddit for marketing, for online marketing, digital marketing. Finding a good subreddit will be super helpful for you if you want to basically get anonymous feedback. You just make a user ID, you post a question, you get involved in a conversation. It's a way for you to get anonymous feedback, anonymous support. You can just basically rant about some situation you're in, and you don't have to worry about anything coming back to you as long as you keep the details a little bit vague. So it's super helpful there. Now with Facebook groups, what I would recommend, if you go on Facebook and you go to somebody's profile, so if you were to visit my profile on Facebook, you would see every group that I'm a part of publicly. So to start, when you're trying to find the Facebook groups, think of somebody that you respect in the sector, somebody that you know in similar industries to you. Go to their Facebook page, and it could be a public person. You don't have to be friends with them. You can see the groups that they're a part of. Join those groups. See what the conversations are like. When you want to if you try somebody that you really truly do think would have good groups, and You don't necessarily have to trust them, but you trust their perspective. PM them. Just send them a private message and say, hey, wondering if you could recommend any good private groups for X. Especially if they have a whole list of groups publicly that are part of, it's likely that they'll have some private ones as well. The Performance Marketing Association is also a great place to get both emotional and technical feedback. A lot of great information in the PMA, really good people to interact with. There's a Facebook group for the PMA where people will post questions and post answers and support each other. So I do really highly recommend that you take a look at Performance Marketing Association. There's various people here at Summit that are parts of that as well. For more technical support, Slack and Reddit I had mentioned. There's also Stack Exchange. Stack Exchange started way more technical, programming questions, coding languages, really, really technical IT stuff. It became a much bigger thing as people started asking questions about other topics. And now there are basically Stack Exchanges for everything you could possibly imagine. So going to Stack Exchange and posting a question or even searching for technical support questions you might need. And when I say technical, I'm not even referring to necessarily IT or computers. I'm referring to any kind of technical, marketing-wise. How do I post an ad? How do I do this? What do you recommend for an email marketing campaign, et cetera? Now, mentorship gets a little tricky. And there are various places you can go that provide you the ability to connect with mentors. SCORE is an organization that's made up of retired professionals. It's a nonprofit. There's no cost at all to becoming involved with SCORE. The benefit of it is there's usually SCORE in, I wouldn't say every city, but most cities will have a division of SCORE. And you're basically meeting with retired professionals who just want to give back. They won't necessarily be up on the most recent trends because they are retired, but they'll really be able to give you some mentorship and feedback about your career and where you might be heading. Also take a look at the United States Small Business Administration. Tons of resources on there, not so much for the mentorship, but for technical resources. It's a really great resource. So SCORE, definitely look into, and the SBA. Now, for mentorship, if you don't have anybody in your direct life that you can think of, oh, you know what, I want to reach out to this person to be a mentor. LinkedIn is a really great network to use. Looking through your own personal network, look through people that you respect, you trust. It doesn't have to be somebody that's a CEO of some huge organization to give you mentorship. It could be somebody that you basically consider yourself on an equal level, but they might have better experience in one aspect of what you could use some help with. Think about mentorship really as a way to just advance career-wise and professionally and individually. You don't necessarily need to find somebody who's a master at everything to get mentored well. If you don't have anybody in your direct network, LinkedIn also has some really great groups that you could be a part of. And same thing with Facebook. If you go to somebody's LinkedIn profile, you can actually see the groups of which they're a member and pick and choose and say, oh, you know what, this is a really good group I'm interested in, join it. I say join every single group that you're remotely interested in and just look through the conversation, see if there's anything relevant to you that you find helpful, and then stay a member of that group if it is. Engage yourself in the conversations so that when you ask questions, people recognize you as a contributor, and they'll be more apt to respond as well. Now, when you're looking for that mentor, the conversation you should have, don't feel weird about it. Sometimes people feel uncomfortable asking for help. They feel uncomfortable asking for somebody else to be their mentor. Just ask. Say, hey, you know what? I really respect what you're doing with X, Y, and Z. I was wondering if we could maybe chat once a month. And that's really all you're asking for. Once a month, grab a coffee, hop on a Skype for 20 minutes, just to get some feedback, to chit-chat, to tell them how you're doing, what you're doing. And it actually works both ways. I was mentoring somebody, or I am mentoring somebody, who I knew years ago from my Citigroup days. Then she started a startup. She started asking me if we could chat, once a month, and it became this informal mentorship, and then it became a little more formal. And then, probably a year and a half into me mentoring her, I came up with a career decision to make, and it flipped completely. I started asking her all the questions, and she basically turned around and gave me all the feedback that I had given to her, and then some. So it's great. These mentorship relationships really work both ways. So physical support, get to the gym. Honestly, if you have any sorts of issues, if you're feeling frustrated and stressed, Any type of physical activity is going to help tremendously, and that's a whole entire other session. But I can't stress enough how even just going outside for a walk for 15 minutes will totally change your day. It will make you more productive in the afternoon or in the morning, depending on when you go. It'll make you feel better. And again, with the whole physical support, find somebody else to support you in this effort. So whether it's a gym buddy to actually go to the gym with regularly, or a friend in another city who you go to the gym at the same time, or just keep tabs on each other. There's a particular individual I'm not completely friends with, but I see him on a regular basis, and he's always staying on top of me. He's like, oh, have you gone to the gym today? And I really feel obligated to go to the gym simply because I know he's going to ask me when I see him. The other thing you can do is the Daily Mile Race to Affiliate Summit Challenge, which this is phenomenal. This is actually the reason why I started going back to the gym, and it's ridiculous because I'm just too competitive. What Affiliate Summit does is for every summit, they do Race to Affiliate Summit, where every mile that you run, swim, cycle, or when you work out, for every mile they donate $1 to breast cancer research, for the Avon Walk for Breast Cancer Research. They also give, for this particular summit, they give free networking passes to every single person who hit 50 miles. And that's over the course of months. So anybody should be able to hit that if they try. The other thing that they do is the top 10 people get, I think it was top 10 get VIP passes. So it gives you sort of that added incentive. And if 387 miles, it's a lot of miles. But over the course of months, it's really, really approachable for you. So I really recommend, even if not Affiliate Summits, Race to Affiliate Summit, go on Daily Mile, set up some competitions with some friends, get a Fitbit and have a competition with some friends. Get that support that you need to kind of keep that going. So our goal is we all just want to help each other out, raise the bar, rise together. And now I want to get some feedback from you all. I really wanted this to be a little bit interactive. I want to hear if you have any questions. And my main question for you to start with, I'm going to ask you if you have any other insights of where people can go to find some support. Eric, I would love for you to go to the mic. Eric's question was, would you like me to go to the mic?
Thank you.
I'm supposed to repeat the question. So.
Is it on now?
Yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned Slack groups, and I just wanted to put out there that Trisha and I also run a affiliate marketer Slack group. So you can go to affiliateslackers.com. Not that we're slackers, but it's a Slack group. It says it's paid, but it's not. So subscribe, and I'll cancel your subscription, and you're in the Slack group for free. It's tiny right now, but the people that are in there give a lot of good feedback. So I welcome all of you to join that Slack group.
Okay, so affiliateslackers.com. It says it's paid, but it's not. So after you join and they charge you, just shoot Eric a message. Or is it, I'm assuming your info is on there. Oh, you'll be in the Slack group, actually, so you can just PM him. If you're not familiar with Slack, it's basically an instant messaging tool. They see it as like integrated communication, sort of a combination of email and archived IMs and different channels and whatnot. It's kind of awesome. I highly recommend you use it for your office communication as well. But affiliateslackers.com. Excellent. Any other thoughts? Any Facebook groups or LinkedIn groups that anybody's willing to share? Okay. Any questions? I left about 15 minutes for questions, so let's have some. Anybody want to share what they do for support? Do you lean on friends? Does anybody completely disagree and think friends and family would be a great way to get support? Eric has a dog. Does that dog understand what you're going through on a daily basis? Oh, that's interesting. So for anybody who might not have heard, Eric had a dog that was super supportive, and the dog passed away. So in addition to the work stuff, there was this thing that was missing in his life that he didn't really pinpoint, was what you were saying, right? And then 9 months later, got another dog and realized that that was what was missing. And it is good to just have something there to kind of unconditionally love you. You know, it makes you feel better throughout the day. Other thing, oh yes. Do you want to go to the mic, or do you want me to repeat? Okay. Well, we will all support you speaking in public.
Hello, I'm from Australia. I'm Claire. I run a business where we employ nurses to take people to medical appointments, people that are unable to drive, whether it be they've broken a leg or they're elderly or they've got a terminal illness. I've got my two sons working with me, and I find that it can be very challenging at times. And what I've done is I've got myself a business coach. I've just employed somebody because my sons actually are twins, identical twins. So I feel that they think it's their business and they tell me what to do. So I've had to engage a private coach to support me and for me to follow through with my ideas of what I want to do with the business. Yeah.
Do you find, so I know a lot of people look at business coaches and they say, oh, why would I pay somebody to talk to them, similar to therapy and whatnot. Have you found the value in your business coach that, can you explain a little bit about your, because I believe in it. I think it's a great thing to use a business coach. So tell me, tell everybody here, value-wise, how did you feel about that?
I thought the same as what you did. I thought it was just somebody you went to talk to. But this lady, she's given a guarantee. I had to write down what I expected to get out of it physically, the changes that were going to be put into place. If those changes didn't happen, there would be a full refund.
Oh, wow. That's great.
So, which is good. But you... so I have to put into practice things that she's suggested I do. One of them is that each person in the office has to have, it's got to have a written description of their role, so that I can go back to them and say that, this is part of your role, you're not doing that, so why are you not doing it? So it's there written down. So it's very practical. It's not talking about oh, this person's upset me and I'm having a difficult day. It's very structured, and we're putting into place structures that are going to change the business.
That's great.
And it's got to be done, completed, because she said if you don't do these things, she's not going to be the coach for me. It's up to me to do that. So, yeah.
So the structure and the accountability is what helped tremendously for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And also having somebody to support you. I mean, there is the conversation too, that there's somebody that's supporting you in your business rather than me having the challenges that I have.
Sure.
Because if you're running a business on your own, which I'm sure a lot of people here are, it is quite lonely.
Oh, absolutely. Has anybody else used a business coach? Thanks. No? Well, maybe it's time for us all to try.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Yeah, so I have some questions around mentors. I know for myself, it's something I felt like I want to find more mentors, but it's kind of, number one, trying to decide what aspects of my life I want a mentor in is
Sure.
been tough for me to nail down, but also making that ask is tough for me. What strategies have you come up with, or approaches have you come up with basically asking somebody to sacrifice some of their time to help me out? How do you?
Sure. So the first thing I'll say is, yes, everybody lives very busy lives, but the ask is not as it's not as bad as you think. So I've been asked, and I've asked people, and I've been asked, and I think the mentor always feels honored almost. Now you can't just go and reach out to the CEO of Pepsi and ask them to be your mentor. If you have a relationship with somebody, though, the amount of respect that comes along with somebody asking you to mentor them, it means that they really truly believe that you're incredibly effective in business and that you have so much to give back, and it feels nice. It's an honor. Do not ask them for meeting an hour every single day. Or I'd say, look, the initial ask would be, first tell them why. So you can say, hey, I really respect that you've done X, Y, and Z in your career. Tell them what you're looking for. I'm trying to accomplish A, B, and C. I'm wondering if maybe we can have a conversation, maybe just 30 minutes once a month, I would love to just get your feedback on some things I'm talking about, you know, and if I will, and say, you know, I'm not going to waste your time. I'll come to the conversation with specific things. So say, this is where I am in my career. This is what I'm thinking about doing. Don't just go sit down and say, hey, how's it going? You know, have specific goals in mind. And it would probably be good to refer to those goals when you're doing the initial ask. If you're looking for also not just mentorship, so not a long-term thing, but let's say you're just reaching out to somebody for a short-term conversation. So, you know, let's say there's somebody, the CEO of Pepsi, you know, that could be somebody you reach out to. That email, that message would be, you know, hi, you know, I noticed that you're doing X. I'm looking for some feedback, and be very specific for what you're looking for, not I'd love to pick your brain. People hate to hear that because it's such a waste of time. I'd love to get your opinion on this specific thing, wondering if you have some time over the next couple of weeks. I'm best available, and give them times. So say, you know, give them like 3 days each with a bunch of different time slots, because just leaving it open-ended, people think that that's good because, oh, CEO of Pepsi, way more busy than I am, so I'm just going to leave it open. But without the specific times, they're not going to go and look at the calendar. It's just not as effective. So you give a bunch of options, but you give those 3 days, a bunch of times each day, do it over a span of 2 weeks, and they'll come back and say, you know, and if none of these work for you, I can work with you around your schedule. But give them that. That's for like a singular ask. For the mentorship, it's more of a, I would love to chat, maybe grab a cup of coffee, or even a Skype if you're unavailable to meet in person. I can come to you. Be very much, tell them why you want to do it, tell them what you respect about them, tell them what you're trying to get out of it, and then tell them that you're not looking for a ton of time. You respect that they have a lot going on. I think that's the best thing. You're welcome. Other questions?
More of a comment than a question, I guess,
Okay,
or feedback. I think one of the things that works for me for support is this place right here,
Yep.
Affiliate Summit. You come to these things like Affiliate Summit, you meet these people and you talk to them. They become your friends, and you know that's how you get that group. You know, you had all the other groups other than Affiliate Summit on your chart.
I had Affiliate Summit as well.
Oh, you did? Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't see it then. Well, take it back. Never mind.
Let's
And
do
the
it.
other thing is, oh, there it is,
Boom.
upper left.
No, it is good.
Yeah.
Great point.
And I guess the other thing is actually making yourself available as the mentor gives you just as much as asking, because you get stuff out of it when people ask you the questions. It's you know, the reason why I think it may be a hard ask for you, but the easy thing for the mentors who are into it, that's what they like to do. So you get something out of it as well, because you say, look, I might have had a stressful day, but I just helped somebody. So it's two-way street.
Yeah, thanks, Brent. One more actually thought, almost done here. Officehours.io. They're not huge, but it's an online thing for you to connect with other people and just pick their brain. So check it out, officehours.io. They're not super big, super popular, but you might be able to find somebody with some insight. If you have any other questions, feel free to come on up. Let's chit-chat. Feel free to email me, tweet me, whatever you might need. And thank you so much for coming. And also, don't forget to fill out your surveys. Each day, 5 entries are randomly drawn to receive a VIP limited pass for Affiliate Summit East 2017. Hope you all enjoyed yourselves, and good luck. Thanks.